You're listening to the Unshamed podcast. We talk about important topics that are culturally taboo when it comes to the female body, mind, and soul. We want to break down shame that surrounds these topics so that women can be empowered in their everyday lives. Make sure to like and subscribe and share this with your friends. Welcome back to the Unshamed podcast, you guys. I'm Katie, and this conversation on shame is sponsored by Zoe Community. Zoe is committed to empowering women who are going through crisis pregnancy and also in doing our part to dismantle shame culture here in Ireland, one conversation at a time. So pretty big deal. But we're excited about it. If you want to hear more about the topic of shame, not really so much about shame, but things related to shame in the female body in the future, be sure to click like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything that's coming up. Today, we're actually going to be revealing your results from a survey that we did back in May. The goal of this episode is really to help us all feel like that we're not weird and we're not crazy if we've ever experienced something that we felt like we had to hide or something bad has happened to us that we feel like we have to hide. I hope that everyone feels like you're one of many after hearing these survey results. Hopefully a lot of you guys who filled out the survey can listen and hear what you had to say. So hopefully you feel encouraged listening to all this. If you have a question about the survey or really about this topic in general, shoot us a comment or send us an email if you want like maybe one person to read your comment. But if you want the whole group to read, comment away in the section below. So we asked Irish women, 35 years and under, what they thought about shame. And here's what was said. Sometimes numbers are kind of boring, so hopefully these aren't super boring for you. A lot of percentages, but we're going to try to put it into maybe some real life examples and talk a little bit about more about kind of what those mean. 60% who answered the whole survey were under the age of 25. So maybe more of you guys are on Instagram who are younger, which is interesting. 49% of you said that shame culture is real and has affected you and the view that you have of your body in a negative way. So that's really significant that almost half of the people who responded said that shame made them feel negative about their body. Not okay. Pretty big deal. 28% of you said that your parents were the first to explain sex to you, but the majority, 72%, said that your first sex ed came from school, your friends, or whatever various media, which is kind of interesting to think about because, I mean, like the minority of people, the parents weren't the first to explain sex. So how does that speak to family life, and are parents comfortable talking to their kids? Are they not? I almost wonder what the younger generation, younger than us, kids growing up now, what is their experience right now? Are parents talking to their kids more about sex, or is it kind of the same where kids are learning through friends or school or something like that first? 49%, again, like almost half, half of you guys have discussed contraception with your GP. So if you're sexually active or you're planning on being sexually active, that's a really good thing to have made a plan and to talk about it. So good. Yay. 27% said no, which is kind of concerning a little bit since 27% of you guys felt like you weren't comfortable enough or in a comfortable enough space with your GP to ask the questions that you need. Because if you're sexually active or planning to become sexually active, you need to be in a space where you can ask questions on how to prevent unwanted pregnancy and STIs too, because that's all kind of wrapped up in the same discussion. So that's kind of something to think about. Something I've been thinking about reading all the results. Of course, these were anonymous, so don't know who responded or anything like that. But as just a whole, reading what everybody said, it was interesting to me to find out a little bit of insight into the world that everybody's experiencing. 33% of you found that it'd be very comfortable talking to your GP about contraception or STI testing. So that's really good that there's no barrier there for you, for 33% of you. 41% that you said you were kind of on the fence about it, not really sure. 26% of you weren't really comfortable at all. No matter what your response would be for this topic, write a comment below if you feel like you could help, you have ideas maybe to help increase somebody's comfort level in talking with their GP about anything. Maybe you have ideas that we could bring to GPs on how to make it a better experience for you when you go in to talk to them about this kind of stuff. So that's something we need to know. Help us help you kind of thing. So this was part of the conversation on the survey when it came to talking to your friends about the same thing, contraception and STIs. It looks like your comfort level kind of went up a little bit, which is good, as long as you have somebody to talk to where you felt okay talking about stuff. 44% that said that you'd feel really comfortable talking to your friends, that wasn't a barrier. 40% were kind of in the middle, and 16% weren't comfortable at all. Now, here's the thing. Everybody's comfort level and boundaries, they're all different. The biggest thing that we need, I guess, is to ask ourselves is, are my boundaries in place out of respect for myself, or are they in place to hide myself? So if my boundaries are there for me to hide behind, that's kind of a shame response that I think I should try to look at and see, why am I trying to hide? What is there to hide? Next question. 73% of you guys said that if you've had a reproductive health problem, you told your GP, and that is so great. 27% said that you wouldn't have told your GP. My question is this, and it goes back to the previous one that we said to maybe add a comment. How can we help that number get closer to 100%? Really, 100% of all of us should feel okay. If we have a problem with our reproductive health, we can talk to our GP. We won't feel ashamed. We won't feel like they're criticizing us. We can just tell them, hey, something's going on. Help me fix this. The other day I spoke to a GP over the phone. I was talking to her actually about coming on the show. That's good. And she said that sometimes it's so hard for our patients to talk to her about reproductive health problems. And she said oftentimes that the patient will be like almost out the door, ready to go, and they'll finally pluck up the courage to just tell her what the actual problem is. And she says usually when it's that kind of situation, it's a problem with someone's reproductive health. So that's kind of a big deal, a big issue. How can we get that number closer to 100% of everyone feeling like they're okay talking about stuff? This next question actually kind of broke my heart. The question was, have you ever had a problem with your body that you kept completely secret? And 69% of you said yes. And I'm really sad that so many have had problems with their bodies that they told nobody about. And that's not okay for you. You should be able to talk to somebody about stuff going on with you. The last question was an interesting one because it sort of dealt with everyone's first sexual experiences. Nothing obviously detailed, but different. There was a few different parts of the question that were asked, but I thought we could just point out a little bit. There were 39 respondents who answered not applicable in A to any of the parts of the question, which included things like feeling pressure to lose your virginity and whether or not the first time you had sex was good or bad experience. For those who answered in A, it might have been because they've never been sexually active before or they just preferred not to answer. But the remaining 61 people Only 11 women responded that they felt prepared for what to expect during and after sex. So this makes me think that there are quite a few women out there who maybe are not having their questions answered like they should. So why not? That's the big question I think you can think about too. Why not? Really, we don't want shame to be a barrier for anyone who has questions or hard things to deal with. Yep, I heard it as soon as I said it. I'm just going to leave it alone. My cameraman is smiling. By the way, I think we're going to end up having lots of these kinds of like humor going on in this podcast because it's inevitable. I mean, we have sometimes some really heavy topics here, but, we have to keep things light because we can't be too serious about everything all the time. Some things are just hilarious and, that's life. If you're somebody who's actually, this is a sidetrack from what we're talking about, somebody who's cool with the idea that you can take something both seriously and have a laugh sometimes, you're in the right place. That's kind of our sweet spot. I think if I were super serious about everything, I would be a wreck. So if you like this kind of thing, be sure to click like and subscribe and leave us a comment. Let us know how you feel about all this. You might have more questions. You might say, be more serious or whatever. I'll probably shoot you a little smiley face or something. I saved the first survey question for the last thing that we'll talk about today. I read some of these responses on another episode, just a few, but I really want to read a few more out to you now that we're all finished with the survey. These are the long responses to the simple question, what is shame? We are going to read these 4 quotes. The feeling of being looked down upon and being made to think that something's wrong. It's a very strong feeling when it is internalized, and it can hugely impact a person's life. I think that women are conditioned to associate shame with a lot of aspects about themselves. Women are conditioned to feel shame about their body at a very young age, and it is reinforced continuously. It's often reinforced subtly or subconsciously as well as blatantly. That's a really, really good definition of shame, or really good explanation of the feeling that a lot of women feel. I mean, we've all felt this on some level or the other. Next quote, a feeling that something about you is wrong and cannot be put right, and the best you can do is hide it. That's really a good one. Next one, to feel a type of worthlessness that makes you want to curl up in a hole and die. Yep, felt that. One more, and this one is actually a punch in the gut. Shame is being embarrassed on a very deep level. It's being embarrassed for being you. That's, we are who we are. We've all done things we're not proud of. Some of us have had bad things happen to us that we just wish we could undo. We need a time machine. I think we all need a time machine. But none of this is a reason for us to hide from each other. Or if you follow Jesus, to hide from Jesus. Because, he knows firsthand what it's like to be a human, so he understands the whole shame thing. We're all human. We're in this together. When I read that last quote on the survey, I had to immediately thought about Brene Brown because she's really big on shame. She said, what we don't need in the midst of struggle is shame for being human. That is so true. That's the absolute last thing that we need. So to recap, thank you to everybody who responded to the survey. Thank you. They responded without compensation, or we didn't give you a reward or anything. Just showed up, and that's amazing. We learned so much, and we hope that you learned a lot from doing the survey. Cheeky. We hope the survey actually gave you the courage to speak up. When you have something going on with your body, if you have questions, you're not alone. Everybody does. Everybody has things from time to time that go on. And I guess we all just need to realize that we aren't alone. We're not by ourselves. We all have struggles, especially women with our reproductive system. That's another thing we'll talk about a whole lot as the podcast goes on. There was a year when I was in and out of the GP's office for just infections that I couldn't clear. But she was so incredibly helpful, and she got me sorted in the end. It was just a long process, but she didn't stop until together, like, she helped me find the right solution for what was going on, and that was amazing. So don't be afraid to speak up. If you have problems, keep going back to your GP. Keep asking questions. If you ever have an issue that you just want to talk about and you don't really want to talk about to a whole lot of people, send us an email. And with my background in midwifery and women's health, if I can't answer your question, I will send your question to someone else. We will help you get your question answered. I just guess, if we can just talk to each other and speak up, and if you can share your story might give another woman the courage to speak up about hers as well. And that's how we continue to break the shame cycle. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, don't forget to click the old like and subscribe button. Next time we'll be talking about some common women's health myths. So that's going to be really fun. You don't want to miss it. So until then, keep living unshamed. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Unshamed podcast. Join us next time for another topic that we hope empowers you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with your friends.